Hey, so I don't really have people to talk to about transracial adoption, and I figured I would just talk with you all and see if maybe somebody out there feels me on this. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because a few months ago, the Red Table Talk had a video where they were basically had this adoptive parent, a transracial adoptive parent, transracial, as it has been defined for many decades, is not trying to change your race. It is when somebody of one race adopts a child of another race into their family, right? So that is transracial adoption. That's what we're talking about today. I was adopted by a white family when I was 4 years old, or around there, and along with my twin brother. And I had other Black adoptive siblings. I had a white a white sibling who was their biological son. I had, a pretty mixed up family growing up in that way. So I would say, like off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure there's 7 kids in both my biological family and in my adoptive family. Sorry, my kids are like talking to each other back there, shouting away. So, but my family, I was like, oh, I have a moment, and I really wanted to think about this out loud. So, anyways, I have a really big biological family and a really big adoptive family, was my point. And so I grew up with like kind of a weird situation. But anyway, so when I saw the video on the Red Table Talk a few months ago, it was really like I couldn't even watch most of it because it was really just centering this white woman and her feelings, and just like it was so typical. And I think like any transracial adoptee, but especially a Black transracial adoptee into a white family, understands this. But I've actually been a part of a few transracial adoptee groups on Facebook over the last few years, and have come to find out most people of color adopted by white people experience the same shit. We just do. Like, white people just white people in all across the board. Okay, so essentially, I commented on that video. I don't watch the Red Table Talk like religiously or anything. Sometimes if I'm on and the topic interests me, I'll put it on. If it's like a really big thing going on, I'll watch. But typically it's not like something I'm like, wait for the next one, wait for the next one. I like the concept. I think they're a beautiful family. It's just not something I'm like, I care about like that. But to be fair, I don't really care about most shows like that. It's just how it is. I like it when like a whole season comes out, and I'll binge watch that when the season's all done, so I can just enjoy it for when I enjoy it if I want to see more episodes. So anyways, I commented on that video and I said, I think you guys need to bring a transracial adoptee on the show. And I think that they need to be not somebody who's just dick riding being adopted by white people, because we see this all the time. You know what I mean? It's not even like I'm trying to be mean. It's not like I'm trying to silence the people who love their adoption, but y'all have had like way too many platforms. They pick and choose y'all out of the haystack. You this one glittering needle, and the rest of us are just rusted and just bent and misused. And like, hey, you want to hear my story? And typically transracial adoptees and adoptees in general are asked to be grateful or shut up, because you could be dead, you could be in the orphanage, you could be in foster care. You know what I mean? People will say the most disgusting things to adoptees, and they don't think twice about saying them. So I wrote that comment, and I didn't have much faith that there would be any thing coming of that. But then today, one of my friends tagged me in, one of my Facebook friends tagged me on a new post where they are interviewing, I wrote down her name, Angela Tucker. They had 2 40-second segments up about Angela, like Angela was talking. And I'll tell you the quick synopsis of those 2 like 30-40-second segments that I saw that they have up now. It's the first one, what that my friend tagged me in, was the one where she was saying, it's very common among transracial adoptees, Black transracial adoptees, to, it's like you're in the world and people view you as a certain way, right? They'll have all these ideas, presumptions, but inside, you don't feel Black. On the outside, people see you, they read you as Black. They when they see you doing certain things, they're like, oh yeah, they're a Black person, of course. But for you, sometimes you feel like a fraud. Sometimes you feel out of place. Sometimes you question if your legitimacy, right? Can I even speak here? Because am I even Black enough? Am I even Black? And I really like that they chose a woman who is unambiguously Black. I love that, so that she can really kind of speak from that place. She can really speak from that place of being probably, I'm assuming she's going to speak of being, you know, one of the few Black people in her environment, what that was like. And, you know, I think that that's something that a lot of Black people face. You know, occasional feelings of inadequacy, even if it isn't like all the time, full, like for me, I've never, you know, been like, I'm not Black, you know what I mean? I've always felt like I was a Black person because I've always been very unapologetically Black, just within my heart, just within my sentiments. Like, I remember like hearing about civil rights and stuff and like how the white people were trying to spin it. And I was remember being like, you know, oh, I gotta be careful, y'all. I brought it back out, but I don't want to expose too much. Anyways, so I remember, you know, being really, I've always been very, very Black in my sentiments, even when I was very silent, even when I was complicit to what my adoptive parents wanted. I always had a very serious inner dialogue that was very continuous, that called out a lot of people on their bullshit. Like, it just was intuition. Like, what are you doing? Like, for example, well, actually, I'll tell this story in a minute. But anyways, I just wanted to say that I think that all transracial adoptees to some extent probably feel this. It's the reason why, you know, one time I was watching Tasha K and she kind of went in on Kaepernick and was like, is he even Black? Could you even, you know, call him Black? Blah, blah, blah. And I totally understand not fully reading somebody as Black because they're not dark skinned. I do not argue with her. If she does not see a Black man, she does not see a Black man. That's, you know, that's what she sees. However, he is a transracial adoptee, right? He is not only a biracial Black man, but he is a transracial adoptee. So it's not surprising to me at all that he walks the world as a Black man, because when you grow up, even if you are only mixed, you know what I mean? Even if you're a mixed Black person or light-skinned, you're not even mixed, but you just turned out light-skinned, which one of my brothers has 2 Black parents, and he is my color almost, or he was back when we were kids. But my point is that you will be read as Black. You will be the hyper Black person. You will be the Black person representative for everything, even though you are not in any way connected to the Black community, typically. And now I say that because my big sister had a very different upbringing than I did. She was allowed to watch, you know, BET, indulge in magazines, go out with friends, connect with the Black community, get her hair done in extensions, all sorts of privileges that I wasn't really awarded. And I believe that's because she was my mom's first adopted child and also was so much older than me. She's about 8 years older than me. So then by the time it got to me, they were just like, whatever, you know what I mean? It was kind of the novelty, I think, in a lot of ways had worn off. And then also, I think, you know, it's just different children. People treat children differently. They have different sentiments towards different children. And I think that's especially true when you're adopting a gaggle of Black kids. When you're adopting a gaggle of people of color, when you're trying to build up this huge multiracial family, I do believe fully that it is even easier than when you birth a child by yourself. It is even easier to start, you know, treating kids totally different and justifying it to yourself that it makes sense because your kids are different people. But at any rate, my point is that my big sister was given certain privileges and allowed to connect with the Black community. So probably for her, it wasn't as big of a deal if people, you know, tried to see her as like the token Black girl in some senses. Plus, she, at her high school, there were several other Black girls. So she went to like a nice enough high school that, like, because she was in the Bay Area, there would be, you know, rich Black people with children to send to her school. You know what I'm saying? So she ended up going to be more connected. However, I think my situation is more typical of what most Black kids face when they are adopted by white people, which is that, one, they have absolutely no interest in connecting you with other Black people, not even to go to Sunday church, not even to have a mentor at the like local club, not to go to a dance class, not to go to a language class, an art class. And if you do get to do any of those things, they typically center themselves and insist on participating, insist on being the teacher to you, insist on, you know, somehow involving themselves totally. And then once they've involved themselves totally, centering themselves totally, and then you're stuck trying to make sure they're comfortable with you connecting to your own fucking roots. And I've seen this happen even for white people who adopt white people. The other day, like 2 weeks ago, I met a person whose sister, her nephew was the adoptee, and he was just trying to go to Russia to like get some answers. Like, his mother's been missing for 10 years. The family, his biological family doesn't know where she is. He just wants some kind of closure, some kind of feeling like, where does he belong? He wanted to learn the language maybe. It's Russian. These are white people. They adopted a white kid from Russia. And the mother was offended that he is trying to go to Russia and learn Russian, learn some fucking culture, eat some fucking whatever they eat there, get into the, you know, learn something, get something to hold on to. Because, and adoptive parents, see, that's the issue, is that they will hoard you away from your culture and then be just, oh, you have hurt me, when you try in any way to connect with your culture. My mother would call that politics. She'd be like, we just don't agree politically. If I said anything to do with my culture, she would revert it to politics and be like, I don't talk politics with my kids. She does, just not me. If you can guess why. And no, we don't talk anymore. It's been a few years because she thought I was trying to say something about my adoption when I wasn't. And she let a whole lot of shit fly out. And I was like, well, one, you misread that. That wasn't what I said at all. And I'd actually sent you a picture of a quilt to share with you. So you were really confused about what this conversation was. But two, the fact that that was all just waiting to come out said a lot. So I, backed off. And the more I back off, the more clarity comes to me of how much she had burdened me. And ultimately, I have to claim it as abuse. I have to be able to say, that's emotional abuse. This lady burdening me with all of her needs, to be this nice woman, to be this perfect person, to be this, and to not be seen as this even after I was abused. And I mean, when I say abused, I say that because her husband, my adoptive father, did abuse me. He sexually abused me for 10 years almost, and ended up in prison and passing there, serving time for his abuse to me. And so, I've had to really come to grips with a lot of the stuff that's gone. So I really do have a very crazy adoptive situation. I'm not sure what Angela Tucker's situation is entirely. Hers does seem a lot nicer than mine, but it also, I think that's a good thing that Red Table Talk put her on there with that story, because it's like, even with everything perfect, even with somebody who's like, I love the opportunities that I got. And I can say I got a lot of really wonderful opportunities. Having my own bedroom, that was a good opportunity that I think I personally needed. Living in an environment where people, well, I guess it was because people generally left me to my devices, but they also, because they knew I was mostly left to my devices, bought me most any book I ever wanted. I was like, I had The Color Purple and was reading that at like 8 or 9, which, changed my life. And I'm so grateful for that. And so there were like certain pockets of privilege and goodness that I can definitely attest to. But with Angela Tucker's situation, it appears that, she had a really good upbringing. She had solid parents who she can, for the most part, say did a decent job, tried, didn't abuse, followed through. It gave her opportunity, did what they said they were trying to do, etc. Not to say they were perfect, but to say it seems like they did a good job to her. And still she has these feelings of inadequacy where somebody is looking at her and she can't, fully feel like a Black woman, or she might feel like a fraud for taking up the space, because what is her voice? Is her voice a Black voice because she was not raised around Black people in Black culture with Black knowledge and common cultural knowledge that so many Black people just have because you're raised in the community, right? So I thought that was a very poignant one. Her second point was a little stranger to me. I've never actually felt this one. She said she feels surprised sometimes to look in the mirror and see a Black girl because she looks around her family so often and sees no representation. She sees only white people is what she was saying, but my interpretation is she sees no representation. So when I said that out loud just then, I did think of a few memories. I'm the only mixed person in my family. Well, not my only mixed person, but the only one I really knew when I was a little kid. And even my twin brother was a little darker skinned than me. So I used to feel a huge dysphoria in my family because on the one hand, I had white family members. On the other hand, I had more darker skinned family members, and no one missed an opportunity to remind me of how yellow I really was. And so I used to spend time outside reading in the sun eventually because I wanted to avoid this. And now I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, I was fine. Like, it's like, you really have to think about the shit you say to little kids because they will take that shit to heart and, it will eat at them. And I didn't, I was like sitting out in the sun reading because I thought I needed to be like, I was like, I need to pick one or the other. I need to go one or the other. And I didn't want to pick white people. So I was like, I need to get somewhere, somehow. And so, yes, I do think growing up in a home where you never see your own face, like for me, and now I have twins. I was a firstborn twin and I had firstborn boy-girl twins. And it's bizarre to me sometimes to look at my kids' faces and see hints of me or see hints of my husband. It's not something I'm used to. I'm not used to looking at other people and seeing any semblance of myself. And all of my siblings from my birth family are mostly half siblings. We all have different fathers. And that also affects, we just didn't really look the same. None of us. We all have a very wide range of like color tones and features, and you just wouldn't pick us all out as siblings from the lineup. So I think that was like a astute, but I also was like, I've never actually looked in the mirror and been like, she's not a Becky. Like, that never happened. Now, I don't, identify with that. But the story I wanted to say that did remind me of initially was how my adoptive mother used to kind of insist I say I was white. I don't know if anyone else ever had this happen, but I would have her force whiteness upon me that I don't actually have because it made her feel better. She felt better when I would, for example, say, I am Black, Salvadoran, and white. even though who's the third parent? Who is that person? Where would that have possibly come from? Except from herself faking my DNA to make herself feel like more my mom. I just never understood that, but I went with it. Why? Because I was a little ass kid and I just wanted my mom to like me. I just wanted to make her happy. I was always, that's the issue when you're a transracial adoptee, you're always stepping around, making sure you're not triggering your adoptive parents, because typically they have issues. Like, let's just, like, am I really going to go into this right now? Yes, I am. Okay, they have issues. A lot of adoptive parents have issues. A transracial, should I say. Typically, people who are dead set on going into someone else's community and helping the community by taking their future and raising them themselves because they think they can do a better job, instead of sponsoring somebody else, to sponsoring the parent to help them, sponsoring adopting a family, helping these people thrive on their own, instead of that, they will literally and figuratively, I guess, take the DNA, the future of a community for themselves and be like, no, you know what, I think I can do this. I think I can raise a black man. Y'all out here fucking up, and I think I can raise a black man. Africa out here raising buffoons. They still out here at the bottom of the food chain. I can do. Oh, these Chinese people out here, they don't want their daughters. They'd rather kill their daughters. So I will raise the daughters. It will be me who raises them because I can do it. That's the attitude. Like, that's literally the attitude. And if you say to them, you're stealing people's futures. You're literally sitting on your little stool of privilege, stealing people's futures. Because there's kids out there who literally you could be raising from your community. You didn't, and here's the other part of it that I typically see with adoptive families, white adoptive families looking for that little something to add to their family. They're looking for a little spice for their family. They're looking for a little conversation starter on Facebook. They're looking to be read a certain way when they walk in the room, when they walk somewhere else. They want people to be like, oh, bless you. People did that shit to my mom all the time. Ma'am, no, what you are doing, I could never, but you. White women love to do that shit with each other. They love to just pile it on, and then she's sitting there basking, look at me, look at my life. And my mom is a really nice lady. I'm not even gonna try and, paint her as this really terrible person, but she definitely got off on that praise that, oh, look at you with your pretty much circus of children. You've all of these adopted children and your child, and and this is going on, and then this one's acting up. How do you do it? And she kind of likes that attention. She did. She was a really great teacher. She was a really great person in the community. She helped a lot of people, a lot of families, and she definitely got off to some extent off the attention she got from having a gaggle of black kids. It's those two things can't exist at once. Susan can be wonderful at a lot of things, a really nice lady at a lot of things, and she can still fuck up by adopting a kid who she has no fucking business adopting. Now, this kind of gets into my ideas about I think Stuart Little is such a good example. Not the book. I think the book Mrs. Little actually births Stuart. But in the movie, okay, I'm going to do a whole video on this, actually. We need to talk about Stuart Little, but I'll give you quick what it is. In the movie, Stuart Little is adopted, right? He's taken from his family, or he's taken from the orphanage. The Littles go to the orphanage. They tell their son, hey, we're going to bring you back a little brother. We set up everything for this kid. They go to the place, and then what do they see? Is that a little conversation starter? I think we can raise this mouse better than a mouse could. I think we're ready for this. Are you ready for this, Mr. Little? Well, I've only thought about it 1 second, but I'm in, Mrs. Little. 1 second is all it takes, Mr. Little, because You just have to have love in your heart and good intentions, and you'll be able to raise a kid however you would like. And so they take this kid home, who they are not prepared to take care of in any way, who the entire setup is actually detrimental to his health, could kill him, could, physically, mentally impair him. He's got danger. The house setup, the very people they have around the house are actually a danger, a predator to this child who they have just brought into their home. And they are willfully, we're just going to keep on beep boop doop, put him in the big bed. Oh, we're all just going to ignore all the signs that something needs to drastically change to help this child. We're all just going to do it and pretend like this tricycle's cool and the bowling ball is cool and this is cool and that's cool. And we're just going to keep pretending until it all kind of blows up in our faces that everything's cool and pretend like we were ready to take care of Stuart. Is that not the most perfect, analogy for transracial adoption? Is it not perfect? Just like the brother hating them when they first get in. My sister definitely hated me in particular when I first got in. And still to this day, she don't like me. She just never liked me. I think that was just, you can't just put people in the same house and be like, you're sisters now, and expect it all to go down right. So, you can't be mad. Can't be too mad. I tried. Anyway, my point is that Stuart also had a hating ass brother who didn't get it, who was like, what are you doing? That first off, that you're going to sit here and gaslight me like this isn't the opposite of what you fucking said, right? Like you're not going to sit here and gaslight me like, 1, this isn't chaos, 2, you aren't prepared, 3, you weren't ready, 4, this is not what you said you were doing, and 5, let's be real, when you said you were doing it, you didn't know what the fuck you were doing. You didn't put enough time, effort, and thought into it, because if you had, you probably wouldn't have done it. You probably would have left this one to someone else and chosen someone you could have actually helped. Because here you are in your perfect bliss mindset that you should just continue to pretend the house is set up and that the environment is set up and that the family isn't set up. And that was the other thing with Stuart Little. That scene where he's presented to the family and his appearance shocks them. Yeah, that was poignant. That was right on point, right on cue. Exactly. They'll just bring you in like a little circus animal. Here it is. And and the rest of the family is supposed to act like you're not like a totally different thing. Everybody's supposed to act like they're so okay. And no one's going to admit that not a one of them is a mouse expert. And what did they ever do that was like even, remotely first for Stuart? It was just so perfectly showed that they just didn't care that he was a mouse. They didn't care that they were going to have to do a lot of extra stuff. Only things that happened was like he got to go shopping. They gave him a little toy car. Like they really didn't put too much effort into it. And the tip of the iceberg with the Stuart Little movie was when they are so ill prepared to deal with the mouse species that a random set of mice shows up and they're just like, yeah, that's probably his parents. That's probably them. Literally, I feel like most white people, if a random Asian couple or random black couple showed up at their doorstep and was like, actually, I mean, they'd fight. But I mean, like, if it was like a situation like this where you could actually give your kid up, they would probably believe right off the bat that this was the parents. Yeah, that's the parents. I mean, like, I'm fighting you because I bought this kid fair and square. But they'd probably believe that they were the parents because they're not in any way acquainted with the black community. They're not usually, knees deep in the community helping people out so that they've got racial facial recognition down. They haven't put none of that effort. They never do. Anyway, so that was my slight Stuart Little spiel, but I could go on about that movie for a long time because I think so much of it is on point. And it goes straight over people's heads. The other day I saw somebody on YouTube try and say that they were like, why is Stuart a mouse? Is this branding? Are they trying to do like the Minions? And I was like, sir, the fact that you don't know that Stuart Little was a book first is just sad. Okay, why would you even talk about it? You don't know nothing. Second of all, no, Stuart was not a mouse for branding reasons. It was a story written by the same guy who wrote Charlotte's Web. I think he just liked animals and doing people shit, right? Didn't he also do like that little mouse one? It was like a mouse, cricket, a cricket in Times Square. Did he do that one too? I don't know. Don't ask me these things. I'm just talking now. Anyways, my point was that this person tried to say all that, and I was like, wow, Stuart Little has really gone over people's heads. And maybe I'm just reading into it a lot as a transracial adoptee, but I think Stuart Little has really gone over people's heads. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a little strange in a lot of situations, like how his parents died gruesome, how he gets kidnapped by fake birth parents. But the movie is pretty on point. It's pretty on point. And to be honest, as a little kid, I'd probably have walked out the door with a random black couple too. Like, what? You're my family? Thank God. Whew. I'd have done the same as Stuart, not shitting you. If a black family, like, I'd have put my hand on my mother's hand and just been like, I'm sorry, but my time of servicing your emotional needs is over. And I'd have walked straight out the door. There's no question in my mind that I'd have done it. I'd have been like, hey, you know what? This hurt your feelings, but I'm never going to see you again. Have a good one. And I would have left at any stage of my adoption. That is the damn truth. A random, and I didn't even have racial facial recognition, right? I get raised by all these white people, around all these white people. Not really, actually. I've never thought black people all look the same. That was a joke. But anyways, my point is that I think it's a really good sign that the Smith family, the Pinkett Smith family, is taking that extra step. I'm really glad that they read the comments. Really glad that they read the comments, took the time to find somebody who's, for right now, with the full minute of footage I've seen, appears to be a really solid choice. She's a filmmaker. It looks like a producer, director. She directed a film about asexuality. You know, I guess that's the sexuality where you don't have sexuality, or, you know, you don't have sexual feelings for nobody. So that's where she kind of got more famous, but she also does, you know, a lot of, she's like, her Wikipedia page was kind of impressive, but it was also kind of sparse in the sense that I didn't really get a sense of like all that she does. There's like some documentaries, some short films. But yeah, I'm not totally familiar with her, but she seems like a really amazing person. So I'm definitely going to try and like find her Instagram or something, look her up, support, because I do think it's important, and I really like that they chose that. But anyways, I'm probably going to say more on this when I actually see it, because this is something that I will definitely check out when the whole thing drops, and I'll let you know what I think on that. And I mean, I guess I'll also talk about transracial adoption in other settings too, just because I know we don't have so many people who just are willing to talk about it, and willing to talk about it in a way that does not center the adoptive parents, the birth parents. Like, I feel like everyone gets centered except the adoptee. And like, it's like with the adoptee, we all just get the mandatory, like, wrap them up in pillow wrap and like, you're good. Like a pillow wrap, like, you know, like when in shows where like they put a pillow and then they duct tape the person and it's supposed to be protected, and then it's like, be grateful for what you have, be grateful that you have what you have now, and you know, the people are just supposed to be cool. People are just supposed to be cool with it, and that's not my feelings. I don't feel that way. I feel like yeah, I feel like we need to be centering adoptees. We need to be centering adoptees' voices. We need to be centering our experiences. And we need to stop just be picking and choosing the people either with the best of the best story or the most randomly horrific stories. Like, I think we need to talk about the common veins of issues that run through pretty much all transracial adoptees. Like I said, I've been seeing a lot of transracial adoptees from other communities, and we all seem to have the same issues. And we have the same issues as a lot of adoptees in general, but there are, you know, a lot of very specific issues that occur when somebody from outside your culture adopts you. So yeah, we'll be talking more about that as time goes on. Thank you so much for listening to this random, I don't even know, word vomit on this random word vomit about transracial adoption. It's kind of like new to me to be talking to people about it, but at the same time, I'm just tired of being silent. I just have nobody to talk to about this type of shit. You know, my husband was like, there's only so long you can talk to somebody about like your fucking issues, about what you've been through. They've heard your story, and then, you know, it's you that's got this issue where random things keep popping up and you feel like triggered back into it. You get this fucking memory and you're like, God damn it. Like, God damn it. Now I'm going to be thinking about that bitch all night. Now I'm going to be thinking about that situation all night. Now I'm going to be thinking about, you know, this, like this and that and the third and what I went through and that kid who bullied me, you know, and that kid who talked shit about it. And this time that I felt inadequate because I couldn't do something or didn't know something. Like, you know, there's times where like, I've just been like, damn, like I just missed out. Like one time I saw this picture of Baps and I was like, what is this? This is awesome. This seems like something I'd love. And everybody was like, girl, like you've seen so many Black movies and you don't know that one. You don't, and you like, you know, like it was just like, damn, like, yeah, I'm disconnected, you guys. Like there's just literally things that slipped through the cracks because I was never exposed to it and would never have had an opportunity to be exposed to it, which is why I'm really glad for the internet. But anyways, enough babbling. Thank you so much for joining me. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and let me know if you have any specific things you would like me to address about transracial adoption or, I don't know, anything else.